Hi, employee. You're now required to use AI in all of your tasks. This will be part of your performance evaluation. Signed, management. This is the reality that a lot of people are waking up to today who work at Shopify. And this is coming on the heels of the release of a memo that was going to be leaked out, it looks like, at any rate. And they decided to do some damage control and get out in front of this. And we're going to take a look at this from a couple of completely different perspectives. One, we're going to have AI do some analysis on this messaging from the CEO, which I think is kind of fascinating. We're going to be using Gemma 3 for that on a locally hosted machine, not feeding our prompts into a cloud. And I'm going to talk about some prompt ideas that I think are a little bit interesting, possibly scary, that if you are an employee and this is now your paradigm, you've got to be thinking about. So I'm also going to read through this. I glanced over it. It did look pretty interesting. And so I thought, let's talk about this today. And this is certainly relevant to people who are looking at local setups, because if you wanted to get into practicing and prompting and understanding, and you did not want that to be recorded and fed back into other systems, certainly private localized AI is not a bad way to go about doing that and accomplishing that. So we're going to read this together. But before we read this together, let's kick off to Gemma, a generalized question around this. So I've asked Gemma, please provide me a comprehensive analysis of the likely employee reception of this message from the CEO of Shopify to all their employees that was just sent out. Please provide insights also segmented by area of work specialization and score each primary business unit on several key criteria you define as important. Let's see what Gemma has to say about this. It's going to take a while for this to come back. I have a feeling this could go on for a little bit, but let's go ahead and read the actual information ourselves. It's not that long, and I wanted to get my initial reaction reading it. I mean, I skimmed a couple of articles and then I kind of took a look at this and I was like, whoa, this is big news. And this is also possibly, in my opinion, painting a very broad stroke on something that is going to have some interest. That we've got our canary in the coal mine right here. So this came out from Toby, and Toby is the CEO of Shopify. And I do have to say, I have been a Shopify customer for years in the past. I am no longer a Shopify customer, but that really doesn't have anything to do with this. I might drop a couple of things at the end of this where I think Shopify could improve, that AI might be able to help, that, you know, as a customer, there were certain pain points that I felt unheard on. So let's dive into it and read this message together. We are entering a time where more merchants and entrepreneurs could be created than any other in history. We often talk about bringing down the complexity curve to allow more people to choose this as a career. Each step along the entrepreneurial path is rife with decisions requiring skill, judgment, and knowledge. Having AI alongside the journey and increasingly doing not just the consultation, but also doing the work for our merchants is a mind-blowing step function change here. So it is indeed a massive possibility. Certain fields are going to have better capabilities than others. And there's certainly dangers that are also, in my opinion, going to present themselves at various steps through this. And so maybe part of what they're doing here is actually defining what those dangers are. We'll see if they acknowledge that further on here, or if this is just a super optimistic piece. I have a feeling it's going to be, just based on the tenor of that. It sounds like the setup for why we're going to do something, and it's super rah-rah. Our task here at Shopify is to make our software unquestionably the best canvas on which to develop the best business of the future. We do this by keeping everyone cutting edge and bringing all the best tools to bear so our merchants can be more successful than they themselves used to imagine. For that, we need to be absolutely ahead. So I would say, if you are looking at Shopify as a platform for e-commerce only, yes, it probably is one of the best. It does give you amazing capacity and capabilities, and it can, augment your workflows substantially. It is a good general overall e-commerce platform. That doesn't mean that it's all good, but having used it through, 4 seasons 1 year and 3 seasons another year, that's like 7 seasons. And if you're familiar with Shopify, you understand, like, they move in this season thing, which can be very bad because they change the user interface quite frequently during that time period. That there are potentials for improvement for sure. So let's see. Reflexive AI usage is now a baseline expectation at Shopify. So if you work at Shopify, you are using your assistant. Your assistant is being hopefully helpful to you, is, I guess, where they're going to go next here. Let's see. So that is this is why we're doing it. Here's how we're doing it. Not necessarily this is demonstrated as being the best for you. And so reflexive AI usage is now a baseline expectation at Shopify. I think that's a big statement. Maybe you are already there and find this memo puzzling. I would be very curious to how many people are 100% integrated with their code tools in a corporate environment like Shopify. I would imagine there are some, but I would also imagine that it is not anywhere close to all of them. In that case, you already use AI as a thought partner, deep researcher, critic, tutor, or pair programmer. So these are many places that I think are the knowns. If you're looking at analysts, though, there's a lot of complexity that if you're looking at, say, a incomplete RAG data set and it does something wrong, could have substantial ramifications. I use it all the time, but even I feel I'm only scratching the surface. Okay, so that's the CEO saying that right there about his own usage of it. Kind of odd. It's the most rapid shift to how work is done that I've ever seen in my career, and I've been pretty clear about my enthusiasm for it. You've heard me talk about AI in weekly videos, podcasts, town halls, and Summit. Last summer, I used agents to create my talk and presented about that. I did this as a call to action and invitation for everybody to tinker with AI, to dispel any skepticism or confusion that this matters at all levels. Many of you took up the call, and all of us who did have been in absolute awe of the new capabilities and tools that AI can deliver to augment our skills, crafts, and fill our gaps. So that's a broad-based call of this has worked for me, it's going to work for everybody. And I feel like in AI in particular, this is a common fallacy, is to paint with really broad brushes instead of really niche things that are, this worked insanely well. This is the kind of thing that I want you to do with it. And this is the kind of outcome that you could expect. That's the kind of training and that's the kind of expectations that, I mean, we don't see AI at AGI levels yet. I don't think you're going to have the capability to begin to replace massive portions of the workforce even soon. Like, it's going to take a while. I mean, I'm not going to judge that as good, bad, or other, but I will say there is massive transformations that are likely to happen as a result of AI in the near-ish term. What we have learned so far is that using AI well is a skill that needs to be carefully learned by. And this is something I do agree actually 100% on. If you don't hone your skills on using AI, you will definitely not be good at using AI. Using it a lot, and that is the best way to do it. This is why I advocate for people not to use Windows and instead to set up a dedicated Linux server on Proxmox, following the guides that I produce on this channel. And you can find out more about them by going to this channel's history and figuring out, what kind of a budget you would be in for a build, and also checking out the latest guide, which is Proxmox LXC Ultimate Guide for setting up Llama and getting an AI locally hosted server that is always on, because it can integrate into so many different facets of your life. And that's just something Windows is not great at. It's not to say you can't start with Windows, but you should definitely progress past Windows at some point pretty quickly, in my opinion, for your server that is always on. The call to tinker with it was the right one, but it was too much of a suggestion. Here we come. Employees are starting to sweat throughout Shopify reading. This is what I want to change here today. We also learned that as opposed to most tools, AI acts as a multiplier. We are lucky to work with some amazing colleagues, the kind who contribute 10x of what was previously thought possible. Oh boy. So this feels cliche. It's my favorite thing about this company. And what's even more amazing is that for the first time, we see the tools becoming 10x themselves. Maybe just go with 1000x. Orders of magnitude. I've seen many of these people approach implausible tasks, ones that wouldn't even have chosen to tackle before, with reflexive and brilliant usage of AI to get 100x the work done. Wow. Okay, so we're getting there. So these kind of statements, if you're an employee reading it, you tell me what you would think if your CEO sent you a letter that said that kind of stuff. Don't actually tell your CEO what you would think, but tell me what you would think in the comments below. Don't mention your company you work for either. In my On Leadership memo years ago, I described Shopify as a Red Queen race based on the Alice in Wonderland story. Oh, okay. So that'll be an interesting race. You have to keep running just to stay still. In a company growing 20 to 40% year over year, you must improve by at least that every year just to requalify. Oh boy. This sounds like it's setting a tone. If I was reading this as a Shopify employee at this point, I'm like, okay, so let's see where I can find that next. I don't know. You tell me. This goes for me as well as everybody else. This sounds daunting, but given the nature of the tools, this doesn't even sound terribly ambitious to me. Okay. It's also exactly the kind of environment that our top performers tell us they want. Okay, well, the top performers are now dictating to the entire organization that everybody better be a top performer. I mean, Sounds great, but in theory, that's one thing. In reality, that might not quite pan out. It'll be interesting to see. Like I said, we have our canary in the coal mine for mass forced adoption here. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires here. Does Shopify transform into something bigger than just an e-commerce platform? I have no idea how they could, but maybe they could. Learning together, surrounded by people who are also on their own journey of personal growth and working on worthwhile, meaningful, and hard problems is precisely the environment Shopify was created to provide. This represents both an opportunity and a requirement. Deeply connected to our core values of be a consistent learner and thrive on change. These aren't just aspirational phrases, they're foundational expectations that come with being a part of this world-class team. That is what we founders wanted, and this is what we built. So at this point, there's coming expectations. This is going to be written into probably some mission stuff here soon. What this means, yep, here we go. Using AI effectively is now a fundamental expectation for everybody at Shopify. Oh, effectively. So here's the hard part of this sentence. I don't think that using AI is hard, but using AI effectively is somewhat challenging. And that's going to vary based upon what your specialization is. Like I said, analyst is one where I used AI and it fucked up the report is totally a potential. Like you can't have that happen. And if you do, I think you're going to be the person that gets blamed and not the AI. So there are very good reasons to be very specialized in what you're doing when you're working with AI. The people that probably have the best experience with it are the people that are early adopters, people on this channel, for instance, people that understand how to use it and people that use it frequently. Like he said, I don't disagree with any of that at all. And I think that AI, the overall message of this may be, hey, we are moving forward with a new paradigm in Shopify. It could be, it sounds like it is. It's a tool of all trades today and will only grow in importance. Frankly, I don't think it's feasible to opt out of learning the skills to applying AI in your craft. You are welcome to try, but I want to be honest, I cannot see this working out today and definitely not tomorrow. Stagnation is almost certain, and stagnation is slow motion failure. If you're not climbing, you're sliding. Well, if you've adopted the Red Queen race, then you're going to absolutely say that. That is the backup for that. So, that becomes hard. That becomes hard as you grow older. That becomes much harder as you grow older, especially in a tech-centric, tech-based world where age discrimination is rife. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Number 2, AI must be part of your GSD prototype phase. In general, businesses are going to do a lot of prototyping of ideas before they actually deploy them. And that is a wonderful use of Gen AI because honestly, you don't need to involve a bunch of people in something. If you can prompt up something and, get a good look and feel for it and say, hey, that is something that shouldn't exist in the first place, you're going to save everybody time and money. So that is a perfectly good example of the workflow that you might expect. Having clearly defined workflows, however, is part of an organizational approach that I think I don't see necessarily mentioned here yet. And that has me concerned for the employees of Shopify is where is the workflow based? These are how we have established best practices, rules of thumb, and this is the optimized outcome that we expect. If everybody's out there just expected to achieve optimal results, that's going to mean a lot of people are not able to achieve even baseline results because people will fail in their task of being original, creative, and understanding how to use things. Like I've said on this channel, I got interested really in AI about a year ago, and I feel like I'm still constantly behind myself. And this is, of course, I always phrase things, this is my non-scientific testing. And I do that for good reason because it is such a rapidly advancing field, and there are so many advancements so fast that it's easy to become behind in it. So, I'm not saying he's wrong here, but I am saying it's interesting to see how companies adapt to AI and the AI revolution that probably we are right upon. Prototypes are meant for learning and creating information. AI dramatically accelerates this process. You can learn to produce something that other teammates can look at, use, and reason about in a fraction of the time using it used to take. So absolutely that is true. And that is a wonderful use case for it is prototyping. However, that's not every business use case. And that's not everybody that's working at Shopify that's prototyping everything. I can't imagine. I would be very surprised if it was. We will add AI usage questions to our performance and peer review questionnaire. So this is like your evaluation stuff here, I have a feeling. Learning to use AI well is an an obvious skill. My sense is that a lot of people give up after writing a prompt and not getting the ideal thing back immediately. Again, I'm not saying he's wrong. I think that's actually very accurate. Learning to prompt and load context is important, and getting peers to provide feedback on how this is going will be valuable. So I would almost say getting peers to provide feedback on how this is going will be valuable sounds more of like a suggestion. And I will tell you, absolutely, it's a mandatory thing. If you are working at Shopify and you are facing this and you're not understanding what you're doing, you definitely need to get somebody else in the loop immediately, and get feedback immediately, because they're going to be monitoring, they're going to be tracking. And if you're lost, your time to catch up is going to be short-lived here. You might not have a lot of time. Number 4, learning is self-directed, but share what you learned. You have access to as much of the cutting edge AI tools as possible. There's chat.shopify.io. So I guess that's an internal tool, which we have had for years now. Developers have Proxy, Copilot, Cursor, Claude Code, all pre-tooled and ready to go. So, I mean, they're hooked up and ready to go from day one. We'll learn and adapt together as a team. We'll be sharing WS and wins and losses with each other as we experiment with new AI capabilities. And we'll dedicate time to AI integration in our monthly business reviews and product development cycles. Slack and Vault have lots of places where people can share prompts that they developed, and they give a couple of Slack channels there. So it sounds like there is some definition of pathways there. And so that is good that they have some resources available for people that are in over their head already. Before asking for more headcount and resources, this one's pretty interesting. Number 5, before asking for more headcount or resources, teams must demonstrate why they cannot get what they want done without using AI. Ooh, so really, no wasting, no wastefulness. But is it wastefulness if you burn ideas and time on something? Well, that's, like I said, canary in the coal mine. We'll find out. What would this area look like if autonomous AI agents were already part of the team? This question can lead to really fun discussions and projects. So if you're an employee, I would, of a megacorp for that, let me know what you feel about that. Number 6, everyone means everyone. That's you. This applies to all of us, including me and the executive team. So, I mean, yeah, of course it applies to everybody, right? Should it apply to the people that are doing bookkeeping? I don't know. You tell me. The path forward. AI will totally change Shopify, our work, and the rest of our lives. I look forward to seeing massive changes at Shopify. I think that, if they can bring down the cost to the consumer, that was one of the biggest complaints I had, was it is expensive and it lacks some things that I just, for the life of me, could not convince them that are core functionalities, like this particular object always goes in this box. So let's ship it only in that box and come up with only that box as a possibility. Third-party plugins. And they have a very verbose third-party plugin ecosystem. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to hire the person to integrate it. There's a lot of things that core functionality of an e-commerce platform like that. I will say overall, pretty darn good experience. So yeah, we are all in this. We're all in on this. I couldn't think of a better place or to be a part of this truly unprecedented change than being here. You don't just get a front row seat, but you're surrounded by a whole company learning and pushing things forward together. So, I mean, at least everybody feels like they're on the ship and they might feel secure. I feel like that's one of the things that was lacking a little bit in this, is where we got your back as an employee. If you feel lost, we're gonna pick you up and try to help you get through this. And this is learning a new skill, like when the word processor came out and there was probably people that were like, I'm sticking on the typewriter, damn it. I mean, it could be kind of similar to that. So are you going to be able to successfully transfer everybody over to the new paradigm? That's always a good question. Our job is to figure out what entrepreneurship looks like in a world where AI is universally available. And I intend for us to do the best possible job of that. And to do that, I need everybody's help. I already laid out a lot of this in AI projects, and the themes for this year out roadmap is clear, and our product will better match our mission. What we need is to succeed in our collective sum total skills and ambition at applying our craft multiplied by AI for the benefit of our merchants. As somebody who was a former merchant, having merchant focus is something that I do appreciate the CEO messaging. Also, let me say, broad-based, These are the kind of messages that if you are going to do this internally, you may as well publish it out there, because you're in a shock and awe value kind of time for, I think personally, most employees' reception to messaging like this. And they're going to leak it out there if you're at a mega corp or a large corp or even a semi-large corp. I mean, Shopify is a publicly traded company. They're not small or anything like that. So I do think that is good messaging to have just put out there. Like, I don't think that the PR of, oh, we're going to let, news stories run, and, clearly there was backlash. I don't know if they anticipated the backlash. That's actually kind of a fascinating topic. Nor do I disagree with the assumptions that are being made here. How those assumptions are being made, though, let's turn to our very happy Gemma 327B and see if I can zoom in here, because this is very small. Like I mentioned, we asked it to provide a comprehensive analysis of the likely employee reception of this message from the CEO of Shopify to all their employees that was just sent out. Please provide insight, and also segmented by area of work specialization, and score each primary business unit on several key criteria you define as important. So, for instance, this would be possibly an HR use of AI in an organizational setting before a message went out from a CEO to gauge receptivity. So, and I mean, you can feed more data into that system probably to get even better and better results. Also, I'm going to post this response over on my website, so you can reference this if you want, and I'll link that in the description below. And like I said, make sure you hit like and subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. Thank you to all of our channel members. Thank you to all of our channel subscribers. Thank you to everybody who hits the bell, shares a thing, thumbs up, and especially people that visit the website and, share this out there. I really do appreciate those kind of things. So this is a significant communication from Toby. It's not a suggestion, it's a directive. The tone is enthusiastic but firm, bordering on demanding. Here's a breakdown of likely employee reception, segmented by function, followed by a scoring of business units. Likely employee reception, segmented. This will be highly varied. Expect a spectrum of responses. Early adopters, tech savvy, 15 to 20%, will largely be enthusiastic. They're likely already experimenting with AI and will see this as a validation and encouragement. They'll see opportunities for increased efficiency and impact. Potential concerns: fear of others catching up and devaluing their existing skills. Ooh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, so the people that are early adopters may be like, oh, damn it, now everybody's coming. Okay, that's actually probably pretty real. Pragmatic and cautious, 40 to 50%. And I think that's maybe probably that might, I would be fascinated to know if that actually lines up with what's going on in Shopify. Only people in Shopify would know that. We'll approach this with a wait and see attitude. You'll likely comply because of the performance review connection. Well, I think you have to, but you may harbor skepticism about the practical benefits and require clear guidance and support. That part right there, require clear guidance and support. If you're not already there, you're going to require clear guidance and support. Concerns: increased workload, learning a new skill set, potential for AI to replace parts of the job, the hype not matching reality. All very real concerns that are actually very true also. They need to demonstrate this value. Yeah, so this is going to be a good portion. This part down here is huge, though. I did not expect this. Like, resistant, skeptical, 20 to 30%. Resistant, you're going to be resistant in a company that's going to put out a dictate like this, you're going to lose your job, man. You're on the chopping block. This group will be the most challenging. They may feel overwhelmed, lack confidence in their ability to learn, or genuinely believe AI is not applicable to their work. They might see this as flavor of the month initiative. This group is at risk of disengagement and potentially leaving if not addressed carefully. Expect passive resistance. Ooh, expecting passive resistance is that it so lines up. That actually so lines up. Yeah, they probably would be like the people that are like, so did you hear what they're doing up in like at the water cooler? Very interesting. Executive and management, 5 to 10%. Likely supportive publicly, but internally grappling with how to implement this across their teams and justify resource allocation. They'll be focused on demonstrating ROI and managing potential disruptions. They'll need resources to help their teams. Yeah, that is for sure. 2, impact and scoring of business units based on criteria. Here's a breakdown of how this directive will land across different Shopify business units. I've defined these criteria as keys to success. Yeah, I like that. Adaptability, how easily the unit can integrate AI into existing workflows. Impact potential, the degree with which AI can meaningfully improve the unit's output. Skills gap, the average level of existing AI literacy within the unit. Higher number equals larger gap. Disruption risk, the likelihood of significant workflows, changes, or potentials in job role shifts. Overall score, A plus I minus SG minus DR divided by 4. Higher score equals better positioned. Scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best. So it did an excellent job of framing this. This is exactly what I was hoping for it to do. So business unit, engineering and product development. Oh dear, that's way off to the edge. Like I said, you can go to digitalspaceport.com if you want to read this. That's going to be hard to read. So linked in the description below. So it looks like they're going to have adaptability and a potential impact that is very high, pretty good. Skills gap's going to be fairly low. Overall score, 4.25. So they're pretty well positioned. And this is going to be rank ordered that looks like from highest, wellest positioned to lowest positioned, biggest risks out there. And the notes, I think, are pretty good here. Already high AI literacy, huge potential for code generation, testing, bug fixing, and accelerating development cycles. Data science and analytics, they're at a 4, already heavily reliant on machine learning. AI tools will augment their capabilities dramatically. They probably already are augmenting, I would imagine. Marketing, 3.25. So this is one that I think it being at 3.25 is, if this is accurate, is something that I would focus on this particular department, especially. AI for content creation, ad optimization, personalization, and marketing research requires significant upskilling. Yes, it's going to require significant upskilling of a lot of the people in that organization. Sales, I feel like, is probably part of their marketing. Maybe, maybe not. That just depends on which kind of a business you've got set up, but it may be. Shopify Plus, enterprise sales and services. So this is segmenting this out. I don't know if that's accurate or not. 2.75, similar to sales, but potentially more focused on AI-powered solutions for clients. So AI augmented for enterprises that are using Shopify. So like there's kind of normal tiers on Shopify, like I'm a business and I'm growing. And then there's like way up there. Actually, like, boom, you're up there, levels of usage. And so those are going to be people that are enterprise customers. They have much bigger bills, they make much more money, and the potential for them to have insights pointed out and actionable items addressed that they may not know about for their store, especially, I mean, e-commerce, in the realm of e-commerce store, is something that may be very, very cool. Seeing optimized delivery pathways, seeing optimized packaging and shipping, again, core functionality that, in my opinion, should exist at core function level. Being able to specify those things would probably be like optimization routes that you may be able to say, we can save $1 here. And if you multiply $1 times 10,000, you've saved $10,000. If that's happening daily, that's a lot of money. So operations and finance, this one I think is a very risky one. And that is because accounting and accountants have to be like 100%, and introducing certain things in there that are potentially not 100%. Like, are you going to do a vector database for your accounting information? There's good questions. There's good questions that are yet to be answered around some of these things. Customer support. You know, I got to say, AI-powered chatbots are like, damned if it isn't the largest implementation probably out there that's publicly exposed to people. And if that also isn't at the same time like one of the most disappointing things out there. So AI chatbots kind of suck, to be honest with you. And it really does seem to have a lot of room for improvement that, I mean, I found myself, and I'm love working with AI and stuff like that. I get annoyed at the AI chatbots and I'm like, give me the human because I need to get this effing done. Because the chatbot almost never is going to have any executive capabilities to get something done. And if it did, that presents possibly a business risk also. So AI-powered chatbots and knowledge bases, high disruption risk and need to balance automation with human empathy. So customer support, I know, is billed as one of those that we will see the biggest changes happening first. Call centers being removed and stuff like that. Humans still like dealing with humans, and that is because we still can differentiate because of the gaps between humans and AI. If you're looking at like Sesame CSM, their conversational speech model, and some of the more advanced models out there, you pair those two together in some really good expert settings and some predefined workflows that can be triggered by certain phrases and certain understandings and certain scoring, you probably have a very good potential to see those people in a risk role. If you are working in customer service, I would definitely recommend you consider how you upskill yourself now today. Legal and compliance. So this one is, these people probably, I don't know, but I would guess they love it, but also at the same time, I don't know. I would think that like legal and compliance would be like, do analysis on these blank, blank, blanks. I don't know how that works out in Shopify, to be honest with you. So maybe this is more generic than Shopify. I mean, I would feel like it's fairly well known, but also at the same time, there are a lot of shipping restrictions that you enter into with various countries and stuff. And you do need to have compliance with a lot of things. One of the best parts of Shopify is it makes doing international shipping doable for a normal business. And that's something that you used to have to, really understand to be able to approach. So there is some very, very big room for improvement there. And maybe that score of 2 and then being at the highest, kind of, again, the lowest overall score, of course, that being the worst positioned, maybe that is accurate. Overall, this chart feels like it's fairly well thought out. Number 3, recommendations for Shopify leadership. Well, this will be interesting. It's giving feedback to the leadership. Toby, I hope you're watching. Invest heavily in training. Don't assume people will figure this out on their own. Definitely do not. And a lot of the tonality that I saw there, while you did point to some resources, it did not provide a "we got you here" kind of feel to it. Maybe it was actually meant to not provide that feel. If so, and you're an employee, you would definitely want to think about that. Provide dedicated training programs, workshops, and access to resources tailored to each business unit's needs. Internal champions. Identify and empower AI champions within each team to drive adoption and provide peer-to-peer support. Not only that, at the same time they're doing that, lessen their normal workload so that they're not overburdened by dumb questions, because you want them to be available, and that's going to take time and that's going to take effort, and they're going to need training even on how to do that unless they're just a natural born teacher kind of tutorial person. So I think that that's something that hopefully you don't keep the same work requirements and say, oh, by the way, you're an AI champion. Congratulations on your extra 40 hours a week. That's not the thing that you should be doing. Show, don't just tell. Demonstrate. And this is where I was like, this is a little bit weak, what he wrote out there. Could have been better on this. Show, don't tell. Demonstrate the practical benefits of AI with concrete examples and success stories. Focus on quick wins to build momentum. I love this. I'm like scoring Toby on his messaging. It's actually not me. Gemma 3 is scoring Toby on his messaging. Fantastic. Address concerns directly. Create a safe space for employees to voice their concerns and anxieties about AI. Be transparent about the potential impact on jobs and offer support for reskilling. Like I said, customer service, eventually, probably one of these days, they'll get it right. And when they get it right, it's probably a pretty big shift when they get it right. Focused on augmentation and not replacement. I mean, especially communicating that with your employees probably is very important. Emphasize that AI is a tool to augment human capabilities, not replace them entirely. It seems like that could be the messaging here that I was reading. That was my takeaway. They did not talk about direct replacements and stuff like that. The part about talking about AI agents may cause a little trepidation in some people that are working alongside you. But honestly, you're going to have tons of agents working alongside you. It's not, I'm going to be honest, you got tons of cron jobs working alongside you also, if you want to be honest. Like there's tons of processes that happen. This is just going to be a new class of processes that happen. Iterate and adapt. Recognize this as an evolving landscape. Be prepared to adjust the strategy based on feedback and results. That might be one of the hardest things to do here, is actually measure this effectively. And I hope that Shopify can make this happen. And I look forward to seeing how this evolves inside Shopify and inside corporate America and inside corporate Canada, because Shopify is a Canadian company, how this evolves and how this is essentially adopted. I think this is going to be a very common message. There were already other CEOs of other companies like commenting on this post and saying, hey, can you adapt this grok so that I can give this to my employees? So this is coming down the landscape. How can you be prepared for it? This is my guess. This is my takeaway. You may not want to use the tools that you have at work in a less than optimal manner. You don't want to look dumb. And I understand that. And so there are a lot of cloud-based things out there. I would be a little bit concerned about putting a credit card that has my name on it tied to them unless you absolutely know their data policies. And that gets a little bit, you might not know their data policies. How are they using that prompt? Are they scoring you? Are they giving you an IQ rank and putting you in a column of stuff that they're selling to a third-party marketing firm that then companies are buying, and they're like, when you go and apply for that next job, you're like, these are possibilities. This is one of the reasons I like local AI. This is one of the reasons among many that I like local AI, that I think drop yours below, especially my audience, huge into using local AI. But having local AI also means that if you ask a dumb question or in a dumb way or something like that, you don't necessarily, your manager's not going to come to you and be like, hey, so about that really stupid prompt that you thought was going to do a thing and it didn't do a thing, we need to talk about that. I mean, that would be a cause for trepidation. So having a workspace where people can practice prompt with absolutely no recording, and they know it, and you really verifiably are not recording in a business setting, might be actually insanely useful. That could be incredibly useful. to your employees to upskill them on the tools without them fearing that they're being recorded and monitored. So that's something that I think that we could see. And the summary here, this memo is a bold move. Its success will depend upon how effectively Shopify leadership addresses the challenge and supports its employees through this transition. Expect a period of significant change and some internal friction, but also a massive potential for innovation and growth. Focusing on the customer at the end of the day is something that Shopify, I think, in my opinion, having used Shopify, could do a little bit better on. And certainly the tools with AI to make a better user interface experience that is not changing all the time. Or, I mean, it's like, here's what you got pushed on you. And nobody really, I think, loves that. I mean, you bring out some new features and like, what if I wanted to roll back to last time? That's not necessarily an option. So, you gotta understand it's tooling for selling stuff. And if you're selling stuff as a merchant, that's a hard business and you're moving through volumes of stuff and it's going to churn and you don't want to have to relearn. And that can be very disruptive to see that happen. So maybe there's a broad-based suggestion, just another broad-based suggestion if anybody from Shopify is watching. But I did enjoy reading this. I really am going to enjoy reading you guys' replies to this. And yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think this is going to be coming down the pipeline. And I think this public kind of statement on it is probably going to encourage a lot of other enterprises. And especially, I'm wondering what you are doing to get ready for the future of work in the world, because it's going to become more competitive. Are you competing with AI? Are you competing with another person? Or are you competing with a combination of both? This super AI user. I think that's actually the truth right there. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified when we drop new videos. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will check you out next time.